Welcome to a world with limitless possibilities. A world where pain and suffering are matched only by the sounds of those who endure it. Welcome to your nightmare.
Welcome to your nightmare.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Nightmare. I have two stories for you tonight. The first of which is called I Work at a Funeral Home, and we just buried the same man twice. Written by Aaron is Not Funny. On Reddit No Sleep. I work at a funeral home in a small town on the Washington coast called Gravesend, and I can't keep it to myself anymore. This place is different. Not in the way people usually mean when they say haunted or creepy, but in a quieter, stranger way that settles under your skin if you spend too much time here. Things happen at this funeral home that don't make sense. It was small things at first, like a misplaced file, an odd sound in the preparation room, or flowers arranged differently than I remembered. Then there's the bigger things that make me question whether the dead are actually staying where we put them. I've started writing these stories down. Maybe it's to keep track before I forget, or maybe it's to prove that I'm not imagining it all. If you haven't heard of Gravesend, that's normal. Most people haven't. The town sits on a thin stretch of land between the ocean and the ocean cliffside where the highway eventually runs off and turns to gravel. If you keep driving past that point long enough, the road narrows, the fog gets thicker, and eventually you're here, whether you meant to or not. The funeral home sits at the very edge of town, which is fitting, I guess. Most people only end up there once. People imagine funeral homes are unsettling places, but the truth is they're usually very calm. The dead don't cause problems. The living do that well enough on their own. I started working here just 3 years ago, after moving back to my hometown. And sometimes I think about my old roommate, Elsie, back in my college dorm building, daring me to see what was behind locked doors and forgotten rooms. I laugh now, because the only doors I open are the preparation rooms and mausoleum crypts. And the things I find are far stranger than anything she could have ever imagined. My boss, Martin, has owned the place for decades and mostly lets me handle the day-to-day stuff like the paperwork, the preparation room, and whatever other odd jobs need doing when families aren't around. It's quiet, predictable work, save for the new odd things here and there. The fog rolled in early that afternoon, the kind that drifts all the way up the cliffside from the water and settles over the town until the streets look like they're fading into nothing about 50 yards ahead of you. By sunset, the whole place felt muted and gray, like the world had been wrapped in cotton. The body arrived just after sunset. A man in his late 50s who died in the hospital about 20 miles inland. The hearse pulled up just after 7. I stepped outside to help unload the body bag, the damp air carrying that familiar smell of salt and wet leaves from the forest behind the building. The driver handed me the paperwork while we wheeled the stretcher inside through the preparation room doors. Heart attack, according to the paperwork. That part wasn't unusual. What was unusual was a name, because I recognized it immediately. The pen stopped moving in my hand. You see, Gravesend is a small enough town that you eventually learn most of the names that come through the doors, and some of them stick with you longer than the others, especially when you're the one who helped bury them. The man's name was Daniel Crow, and just last year, I stood beside the grave when Daniel was lowered into the ground. I remember it clearly because it was my first funeral that I had a small hand in arranging. And it rained the entire time. Cold, steady rain that soaked through my coat while the priest rushed through the service and the family huddled under umbrellas that kept turning inside out in the wind. I remember the coffin with its dark wood and brass handles, heavy enough that the pallbearers nearly slipped on the wet grass. and I remember standing beside Martin, watching the lid disappear beneath the edge of the grave. So when I saw the name on the paperwork, my first instinct was that there had to be some kind of mistake. Gravesend isn't large, but coincidences aren't impossible. Most of the time when a familiar name appears on a death certificate, it belongs to somebody you've seen around town for years. A neighbor, a former teacher, the owner of the grocery store you've been shopping at since childhood. But the odds of two men with the same name, the exact same birth date, and the exact same hometown both ending up on our preparation table seemed unlikely enough that my stomach began to tighten almost immediately. Still, paperwork gets mixed up. Hospitals make clerical errors. It wouldn't have been the strangest administrative mistake I'd ever seen. I stood there for a while looking at him. He looked ordinary, pale still, and a little thinner than I remembered maybe. But time does that. Eventually I went upstairs to check our files. We keep physical records going back almost 50 years in a narrow room behind the chapel. It took me about 10 minutes of sifting through the dusty binders and yellowing paperwork to find it. Crow Daniel, a year ago. Burial at North Briar Cemetery, plot C14. Everything was in order. His death certificate, service documentation, burial permit. I carried the folder downstairs to Martin, and he read through it slowly while I stood behind him, trying not to let my hands tremble. He glanced up at the body on the preparation table and finally said in his usual calm, measured voice, "I thought he looked familiar." "You remember him?" I asked. "That was the rainy service," he replied. I swallowed hard. I checked the records. He was buried in Section C last year. Martin rubbed his forehead. "Maybe the family moved him," I offered, hoping for the mundane explanation to be true. "No request ever came through here," he said. We went through the viewing as scheduled. The family didn't seem to notice anything out of the ordinary, though I caught myself glancing at the urns and caskets, as if one might suddenly vanish before my eyes. And when the burial came, the rain had started again, heavy and gray. The grave chosen for Daniel Crow lay in Section C, and I instinctively knew where his original grave was, only 20 feet away. My heart thudded as we approached, the fresh soil dark against the green grass. The headstone from a year ago stood silently, granite slick with water, and the engraving was exactly as I remembered. Daniel Crow. I tried not to focus on it, on the fact that it looked untouched, exactly as it had been when we first buried him. The pallbearers lowered the coffin into the new grave while the priest murmured the short service, and I felt an irrational sense of wrongness settle over me, like watching a duplicate layer of reality overlap the one I had accepted. After the family left, when the fog had thickened and the cemetery gates had closed, Martin suggested we check the original grave. I followed him through the mist, the path barely visible, the trees looming overhead. Digging was slow work, the soil soft but tangled with roots and stones. My fingers ached, but worse was the creeping sense that the night was watching, that some quiet awareness in the town itself had noticed our intrusion. When the coffin surfaced, I saw what I had feared. Empty. No body, no clothes, no bones. Only a thin layer of soil that had fallen through the seams, disturbed by nothing we had done. The faint scent of earth and decay and the sound of rain on the trees filled the silence around us. Martin leaned on his shovel and let the lid fall back into place. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, he looked toward the freshly dug up grave, then to the fresh grave from earlier in the day, and mumbled, "Well, I suppose we'll find out soon enough." I shivered, wet and cold, thinking not just about the body, but of everything I've come to notice about Gravesend in the years since returning. The fog that settles over town and seems to hide more than just the ocean off the cliffside. The quiet insistence of the town that some things remain undisturbed. The subtle way residents always seem to know more than they say. Find out about what? I asked. Martin's gaze lingered on the new grave. Whether he plans on staying put this time, he said. I stood there feeling the weight of it. The creeping certainty that Gravesend has rules, and even when you follow them perfectly, the dead still might have their own plans. And I thought back, briefly, of Elsie at my old college apartment, and how she used to dare me to explore abandoned places with her. Somehow, being here in this fog, surrounded by graves, I realized Gravesend itself was the kind of place even she wouldn't have dared to enter. I don't know what's happening here, or why some of the dead don't stay buried. But I do know that I can't ignore it anymore. Every day, the funeral home brings something new, something that doesn't fit with what we understand about death and burial. I'm just trying to make sense of what's happening here in Gravesend, and maybe writing it down will keep me safe, or at least sane. Either way, I'll keep writing down my stories and sharing the strange things that happen behind the doors of this funeral home, at the edge of the world. Our next story is called He Faced the Truth Under the Bayou Bridge, written by Ragecore Gaming on Reddit Scary Stories. Folks say that boy has a way about him. Like he could stand right next to you, take what he pleased, and leave you wondering if you ever had it to begin with. He learned early. Nobody sees it. It's fair game. So he got good. Wallets left on counters. Phones half hanging out pockets. Tip jars missing soon as your back's turned. He'd steal the food off your plate and blame the dog. He was good at sin. But all games ain't fair. And some aren't meant to be played with. But the time he found the bridge marked the day he could feel what he's done. Sun was falling low, stretching shadows long across dirt. And there it was, laid up near a pillar. A man appears to be napping. Still as still gets. Blanket over him, hat tipped low. Beside him, on an old worn crate, something that stuck out like a message from God. Black band, polished, deep red stones hanging off it, heavy looking. The boy moves quiet, real quiet. Steps where the dirt's already soft, where it won't make a sound. His eyes keen on this bracelet. His hands just waiting for a gift that he already feel belongs to him. He slowly grabs it and slips out quickly. He didn't even look back, just keeps walking. Already slipping it on like a charm of his. Fits easy. As the sun catches it just right when he clears the shade, gold light spilling over the black, hitting them stones just right. And they shine back glinting in his eyes. He turns his wrists, admiring it. Small grin pulling at his face. Yeah. This one was worth it, he mumbled to himself. You sure about that, fella? I seen that look on you the moment you stepped onto the bridge. Go on, keep turning it in the light. Let it tell you something. I'm sorry, sir, Oh, no need for sorry now, son. You's always meant to come here. So have a seat over there, 'cause there's no way out of this. Sir, please, you can let it go. Just have it back. Here. I see you trying to take it off. It ain't so easy, is it, son? Now, have a seat. I don't recall asking. Good. Now, sit with it a second. You gonna feel it soon enough. Feel what? You ever notice how quiet it gets? Right as fear sets in, how the outside freezes up? And the inside imagining all the things that can happen for you. Go on, tell me what you're feeling. I don't know. Yeah, you do. See that piece you got on? That ain't no bracelet. That there's a ledger. Every little thing you took, every time somebody damaged some damaged soul, was lost because of you. It knows once you put it on. It hurts. Of course it does, boy. Ain't never felt nothing you've done before, have you? Not the empty fridge of the Sampson family. Not the man patting his pockets over and over, missing his last few dollars. A man fell right there, where you were sitting. Right over that edge there. Said he lost everything. You knew he had nothing left. And I heard him. His last breath before the jumping screams. Yeah. It hurt him too. So go on. Let it come. Please, take it off. Take it back. You thought if nobody seen it, it didn't happen. Well, I seen it. It all happened. Take it off. I can't get it off. I told you. It don't come off. You see, you made that same mistake once. Took what wasn't mine. That very nice charm you got there. And it was piece by piece. Till there weren't nothing left of me worth keeping. They don't take your life for it. That'd be mercy. They take what you use to do it. You steal with your hands. They take your arms. You run from it. They take your legs. And me? I've been waiting on someone to come along, carrying enough to make me whole again. Please, please. I want mine back. I rose up slow, towering over the boy, and that cloth slid off me. He seen it the second it dropped. My ribs was spread open, split wide to let the dark matter out. Things got quiet for him. The fear was settling in. The matter that grew from my sins hit him before he could step back. It gripped his face. His mouth opened. Don't. It's too late, boy. It forced his jaw wider, poured into his throat. The sound he tried to make. Couldn't make it out. His body kicked for freedom. Hands clawing at nothing. Choking, trying to catch his breath. I just watched. Then the dark matter took hold of his arms. You use these. You could hear his shoulders snap, loud, wet, as muscle stretching, tearing, slipping loose in pieces before it gave in, his arms still twitching. These don't belong to you, now do they? They dragged back straight to me, replacing the void left by my own endeavors. My bones started to settle in, the weight coming back. And just like that, I got arms again. He was still trying to scream. I stepped closer and looked down at him. I see you ain't done yet. His legs kicked. So the matter took those too. The same way. Snapped loose, dragged back. His body hit the dirt. What was left of it shaking. I stood there a second and laid that old cloak over him. Then I bent down, picked that bracelet up. Those red stones, they were clear once. I placed it right back on the crate, next to where I placed the boy. That is all for this episode of Nightmare. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me this evening for these tales and these authors for allowing me to bring their stories to life. As always, if you haven't done so already, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any story suggestions, please reach out to me at nightmarepod@gmail.com. And until next time, sleep well.